tonight on First at 9 this Thursday the 25th of September 2025. Digital democracy. President Anura Dissanayake emphasizes the importance of digital democracy to the United Nations and warns against allowing technology to become another driver of inequality. Calls for global action against war, corruption, narcotics and organized crime. Breakthrough. CEB trade unions discussions with the International Labour Organization successful. Final decision on work to rule campaign to be made after meeting the Minister of Energy. Compensation pursuit. Supreme Court orders Attorney General to propose legal action against express feeders over unpaid express pearl compensation. No confidence. Opposition submits a motion of no confidence against the Speaker.
Kalin baby serve rupial 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're joining First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's premium news provider, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. In your top story this evening, President Anura Dissanayake, delivering his maiden address to the United Nations General Assembly, emphasized the growing importance of digital democracy and cautioned against allowing technology to become yet another driver of global inequality. He also called for an equitable resolution to the conflict in Gaza and global action against poverty, corruption, narcotics and organized crime.
President Anura Dissanayake addressed the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York this morning.
Every decision we make affects everyone everywhere in the world. Poverty is the incessant and most painful struggle many countries around the world have endured for centuries. Education is a fundamental human right enshrined in constitutions and recognized by international human rights law. However, due to poverty, many children continue to face violations of this right. In most developing countries, the burden of debt continues to hinder progress in addressing poverty. In low-income nations, funds allocated for net interest payments are often more than double the amount allocated for health and education. Another grave issue destabilizing this planet and creating uncertainty is narcotics and organized criminal groups connected with them. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime confirmed this in its 2025 report. Through drug trafficking, organized crime has created pathways for global crises with groups targeting vulnerable nations. To put an end to this catastrophe, Sri Lanka is implementing a positive program, and I invite you to initiate a global agenda to eliminate this danger. We believe that corruption has become an insidious epidemic causing widespread destruction and tragedy in societies. Corruption is an obstacle to development, a decisive threat to democracy, and a driver of poverty. The fight against corruption is dangerous, but not fighting against it poses an even greater threat. No matter which nation you represent, I believe that every representative here rejects war as I do. No nation wishes for war. We know that war brings only catastrophe wherever it occurs. As a country that has endured more than 3 decades of war, we know all too well its devastation. Anyone who visits the memorials of thousands of war victims and sees the agonizing pleas made by their parents, children and spouses with clasped hands cannot even dream of war. We have witnessed those painful sights. Even though the sorrow caused by conflict has reached unprecedented levels, the international community has too often remained a bystander, failing to act to end the suffering of millions. We are greatly saddened by the continuous and devastating tragedies unfolding in the Gaza Strip. We call for an immediate ceasefire between the two sides in accordance with United Nations agreements and with the consent of all parties, the unhindered flow of humanitarian aid and the release of hostages by all parties. We recognize the inalienable right of the Palestinian people to a state while also recognizing the legitimate security and humanitarian concerns of both the Israeli and Palestinian people. Instead of solving problems with weapons, We must embrace the values of human civilization to find solutions. I would like to remind you that the Sri Lankan people made a historic decision in an election that fulfilled a centuries-old dream. The resulting legislature is diverse and vibrant. On one hand, the people of the country have placed immense trust in the government. On the other hand, the representation of women, ethnic minorities and a visually impaired parliamentarian is a historic milestone. This diversity in parliament ensures inclusivity in governance and reaffirms our commitment to equal rights and opportunities for all citizens. We have also set an example that public representatives are servants of the people, not beneficiaries of undue privileges. Their responsibility must be to develop the country and serve its citizens, not themselves. Today, digital democracy is our new goal. The global challenge is to ensure that every individual and every state has access to the opportunities of the digital age. If we succeed, access to technology will expand, development will accelerate, and governance will be strengthened. But if we fail, technology may become yet another force driving inequality, insecurity, and injustice. I have a dream of hope for my country. You have dreams of hopes for your countries. My dream is to give the people of my country a happy and prosperous life. I believe your dream is to do the same for your people. We believe that to realize all those dreams, we must walk this journey together, not apart.
The Sri Lankan president met with several world leaders during the UN Assembly, including Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa, and Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif.
ඔයාගේ හීන ලන්තයට අපිත් එක්ක යන්න අදම සනස ලයිෆ් එක ඉන්ෂුවර් වෙන්න.
Meanwhile, the third day of the United Nations General Assembly's annual general debate began a short while ago. The first 2 days of the debate have been eventful, with multiple world leaders declaring support for a Palestinian state, while the Colombian president called for a criminal process against US President Donald Trump.
Israel's war on Gaza dominated discussions on the first and second days of the debate, with several world leaders calling for an immediate end to Israeli attacks and the entry of humanitarian aid into the besieged territory. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said Italy believes Israel has no right to prevent the future creation of a Palestinian state, nor to build new settlements in the West Bank. Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said his country would be sending a military vessel to accompany the global Sumud flotilla as it attempts to deliver aid to Gaza following the most recent drone attack on the fleet of vessels carrying aid. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian said his country has never sought and will never seek to build a nuclear bomb, as he pitched his country as a trustworthy companion to those facing Israeli aggression. Ahmed al-Shara became the first Syrian president in nearly 6 decades to address the UNGA, using his remarks to call for the complete lifting of sanctions against his country. In his speech to the UNGA, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on international community to invest in weapons, not words, to support Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion. Meanwhile, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on the sidelines, telling the Russian delegation that the killing in Ukraine must stop. In a notable development, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro called for a criminal process against US President Donald Trump for missile strikes on alleged drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean. During his speech, Trump had vowed to blow drug smugglers out of existence.
The Ceylon Electricity Board trade unions participating in the Work to Rule campaign stated that their discussion today with representatives of the International Labour Organization was successful. They added that the final decision on the continuation of the Work to Rule campaign will be made after a meeting with the Minister of Energy on Monday.
Trade unions affiliated with the Ceylon Electricity Board, engaged in a Work to Rule campaign, forwarded a letter to the International Labour Organization yesterday requesting intervention in their concerns. Consequently, union representatives participated in a discussion today at the International Labour Organization's country office in Colombo.
The discussion was successful. ILO representatives thoroughly reviewed the facts and confirmed their active involvement in addressing the issue. We are scheduled to meet with the minister next Monday, after which a decision will be made regarding whether to withdraw from the Work to Rule campaign. Until then, the action will continue.
අපි මේ උසේ ගියා මාර්ගයේ අකණ්ඩව පවත්වාගෙන යනවා.
පසුගිය ආණ්ඩු කාලේ අපි දැක්ක මේක කොටස් 12කට කඩන්න හැදුවා. එතකොට ඔබතුමාලා පාට බැස්සේ නැහැ. දැන් ඇයි මේ
ඒ වෙලාවේදී මේ රජයේ මර්ධනයත් එක්ක මේ
Due to the suppression by the past government, a court order was issued against 92 trade union leaders. That is why we remained silent at the time. However, we pursued legal action to resolve matters that could be addressed through the courts. The current government is considering a plan similar to the previous one, which we do not agree with.
මේකම නෑ ඒකම නම් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරගෙන යන්නේ. අපි ඒකට එකග වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Energy shared his views on the trade union action at an event held in Colombo today.
බලාගෙන හිටිය අර කන්න අතන 12කට කඩේකොට ඒ තනතුරු ගන්න හිටපු කට්ටියකුත් ඉන්නවා මේ.
Some individuals were primarily focused on obtaining positions within the CEB. When the CEB is restructured, it may become more difficult for them to do so. There is also a significant difference between the 12 entities proposed by the previous government and the 4 entities we have proposed, which contributes to the concerns. Many of these employees are nearing retirement, including some senior officials. Although we have clearly communicated the planned measures, some are attempting to sabotage the projects due to the narrow political goals. As a government, we emphasize that these SOEs do not belong to the employees but to the citizens of the country. We remain committed to implementing the restructuring program.
නිවැරදි විදිහට අපි නොකොඩවා
හොඳම ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්න. ළඟම බාන්ස් එකට යන්න.
The World Education Fair 2025's entrance free. Register now.
Meanwhile, it was revealed before the Committee on Public Enterprises that the Ceylon Electricity Board has suffered losses of over 594 billion rupees between 2013 and 2024. At the meeting, the chairman of the committee, Dr. Nishant Samaravira, accused officials of misappropriating CEB funds for personal purposes.
2013 වර්ෂයේ සිට 2024 වර්ෂය සඳහා ලංකා විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලයේ උපයන ලද මෙහෙයුම් සමස්ත ලාභය රුපියල් මිලියන 594,368 බිලියන වලින් කිව්වොත් බිලියන 594. ඔබතුමාලා කියන සල්ලි නෑ මොකුත් කරන්නේ. ආයතන ලැබිය යුතු මුදල්, ආයතන තුල රැඳිය යුතු මුදල්, ආයතනයේ ධනය පුජ්‍යලිකව පරිහරණය කරලා තියෙන බොහෝ නෑ කියලා කියන්න බෑ. දකුණු පළාතේ විදුලිය සැපීම සම්බන්ධ දැන් ওই මහබැලි කම්ප්ලෙක්ස් එක ලක්ෂපානය අතරේ ওই ග්‍රිඩ් එකේ කනෙක්ෂන් එකකට ගෙනාවනේ මෑත්. ඒක මොකක්ද උනේ?
පොල්පිටිය කොත්මලේ. ඒ ලයින් එක දැන් සති දෙකකට කලින් වැඩ අවසන් වුණා.
ෂුවර්?
ඔව් ඔව්.
ඔක පැත්ත මාරු කරලා ගෙනාවේ නේ?
නෑ ඒ නමුත් එක ලයින් එකක් වැඩ කරනවා. ඉතුරු එක නිවැරදි කරමින් තියෙනවා. ඒ ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එකේ
ඉතින් මහත්තයෝ කොහොම මේක පැටලෙන්නේ කියන්නකෝ. දැන් මේ ඉංජිනේරුවනේ ඔබතුමාලානේ මේ දැන් අපි නෙමෙයි කරන්නේ ඔන්න මං ඇවිල්ලා ඔය ලයින් එකේ එළුවා නම් ඔබතුමාලාට කියන්නේ නැහැ කි මෙන්න මේ ඇවිල්ලා කරා මේක වැරදුනා. කොහොම එහෙම උනේ කියන්නකෝ. දැන්
ලයින් දෙක මාරු වීමක් වුණේ අතන.
ඒක තමයි මොකක් හරි මාරු වෙලා.
නෑ ඩිසයින් එක
ලයින් මාරු වෙලා තමයි තියෙන්නේ. අපිට වයර් මාරු වෙනවා.
ඩිසයින් එකේදීම මාරු වෙලා තිබිලා ඒක එහෙම කන්ටිනියු වෙලා.
නෑ දැන් ඕක කියනකොට හරි සරලයි. ඕක නිවැරදි කරන්න කොච්චර වීදම් කරන්නේ. මේ සමාජයක් ඕකට ගෙවනවා. මිනිස් සමාජයක් විදියට මේක ඔබතුමාලා මේ ආයතනයේ තියෙන ගැටලුවට විඳවනවා. සම්ප්‍රේෂණ ටික හැදුවේ නෑ. ජනන සැලසුම් වලට වැඩ කරේ නෑ. ඒ ඔක්කොම නැතුව හැබැයි මේකට එන ආදායම ඔක්කොම එක එක පැතිවල බෙදිලා තියෙනවා. අදත් රටට කරදරයක්. මොකටද ආයතනයක් තියෙන්නේ? සම්ප්‍රේෂණ ලයින් එකක් හදන්නේ හැදුවත් වයර් මාරු කරනවා. ඔබතුමාලම කියන්නේ මේක ප්‍රතිහෝගත කරන්න ඕනද නැද්ද? මේක හරි ඔඩිට් එකක් කරනවා ෆොරෙන්සික් ඔඩිට් එකක්. ලේකම්තුමා මැදිහත් වෙන්න ඕන මේකට. මොකද මේ අපි කතා කරන මේක ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා දැවැන්ත අවුලක්.
දැන් මට දැන් ඔබතුමාලගෙන් දැනගන්න ඕනේ දැන් මේ ආයතනේ මාස දෙකකින් විතර ඉවර වෙනෝනේ. ඒතකොට දැන් තියෙන මතය තමයි මෙතනින් ඉවරයි අපේ ප්‍රශ්න ටික ඉවරයි කියන එක.
එහෙම වෙන්නේ.
අද සෙට් වෙලා ආවේ බැනුම් අහලා ඉවරයක් කරගන්න. මට දැනගන්න ඕනේ මේ අපි මහන්සි වෙලා වැඩක් තියෙනවද නැද්ද කියලා.
නෑ තියෙනවා මම මෙතුමාට කිව්වේ ඒක තමයි ෆොරෙන්සික් ඔඩිට් එකකට ලේස්ති කරමු. ඒ වගේම මීට අදාළ පරීක්ෂණේ ඉතිරි කොටස් ටිකට අපි මැදිහත් වෙනවම තමයි.
සභාපතිතුමා මේ නිරීක්ෂණය ඇතුලේ අපේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ සභාගත කරන වාර්තාවෙන් ඉදිරියේදී නීතිපතිවරයා හරහා නඩු පැවරීමේ කාර්යපටිපාටියට අදාළව මේ දිනවල අපි සාකච්ඡා කරමින් යනවා.
තුසාවිවල මේ දවස්වල නඩු යන්නේ සහ ඉරේ යන්නේ පරණයට තමයි.
The Supreme Court today ordered the Attorney General to recommend possible legal action against express feeders for the non-payment of the compensation ordered for the environmental and economic damage caused by the Express Pearl ship fire. The Singapore-based firm rejected the $1 billion compensation payment ordered by the court, claiming that the amount is inconsistent with maritime conventions.
Singapore-based express feeders, the proprietors of the MV Express Pearl, which caught fire off the coast of Colombo on May 19, 2021, resulting in the largest marine environmental disaster in Sri Lankan history, rejected the $1 billion compensation payment ordered by the Sri Lankan Supreme Court, stating that the amount far exceeds established maritime conventions. Against this backdrop, the case pertaining to the Express Pearl fire was taken up before a 3-judge bench of the Supreme Court today, following a motion filed by Sea Consortium Lanka, the vessel's local agents. Counsel for the petitioning party, Ravindranath Dabare, submitted that Express Feeder's non-payment of the $250 million first installment of the compensation due on September 23rd constituted contempt of court. President's counsel K. Kanagiswaran, representing Sea Consortium Lanka, submitted that his client had paid 300 million rupees out of the compensation amount but did not have the financial capacity to make further payments. After considering the facts presented, the bench ordered the Attorney General to inform the court on January 26th next year of legal action that can be taken against express feeders for the non-payment of the compensation. Meanwhile, the Harbour Master of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority commented on the ongoing legal proceedings regarding the Express Pearl ship fire.
So 1 billion in 250 4 segments?
No, actually 1 billion in 3 installments. First one was 450 million. The second one is a 500 million tranche to be given within 6 months of the judgment. And the third one, the balance 250, to be given within 1 year of the judgment.
What about the case filed in Singapore regarding this case?
Case in Singapore is still there. Also, there is a case filed in London because the insurers went and limited their liability under the limitation convention. So the government also initiated a case in London to break that limit. That one is ongoing. We are giving the necessary documents and the hearings will be starting, as I understand, early next year. Once we break that limit, only we should be going on the other one. I believe it is a thing which is done by the legal experts.
We haven't got any money as yet.
Welcome back. Samagi Janabalawege MP Ajit P. Pereira today asserted that the opposition will take measures to submit a motion of no confidence against Speaker of Parliament Dr. Jagath Wickramaratne. This was stated when opposition MPs opposed the Speaker's stance on the no confidence motion submitted against Deputy Minister of Defence Aruna Jayasekara.
However, the ministers of the cabinet of the present government acting under Article 46(2) of the Constitution have not delegated any power or duty pertaining to any subject of function to the deputy ministers. Nevertheless, I wish to place on record that the deputy ministers function in terms of Standing Order 32(2) on behalf of the ministers in compliance of Article 46(1) of the Constitution and read with Article 74 of the Constitution. Due to aforesaid reason, I rule that the motion is out of order in terms of Standing Order 27(3).
We did not ask for the report sent to Dr. Jagath Wickramaratne. We requested the report submitted to the Speaker by the Secretaries and the Attorney General. No Speaker is obliged to table all reports sent to him. However, you tabled one which is commendable. Yet some are trying to take advantage of this. Therefore, I ask you to proceed accordingly to the standing orders. We cannot allow anyone to make mockery of Parliament. A deputy minister holds an official position. It has been clarified that there is no legal barrier against submitting a no-confidence motion against someone in such a position. Because you tabled the report, we were made aware of this. The Attorney General's Department also confirms that there is no legal barrier against proceeding with this in Parliament. With regret, I must say that the current Speaker is not suitable to hold the position. He is neither mature nor impartial. Therefore, as the opposition, we have decided to submit a no-confidence motion against the Speaker, which we will present at the appropriate time. According to the head of customs, international intelligence reports indicated that 2 containers containing drugs have been identified. Narcotics officials also checked these containers. However, later they found with drugs in them. This raised serious concerns regarding the 332 containers that were released without inspection. Why were these containers not detained despite intelligence reports? Remember, 2 of the Easter Sunday bombers were the sons of a nationalist candidate of the NPP. After the attack, you claim they had committed suicide to help Gotabaya Rajapaksa become president. Those responsible for neglecting their duties were subsequently given positions in your government. These are the same individuals who failed to act when intelligence on drugs is received. We know that local councillor Sampath Manamperi is involved in this issue and is currently under arrest. He was the coordinating officer for former Minister Johnston. Investigations are ongoing regarding other high-profile individuals as well. Narcotics officials checked those containers after receiving information, but due to a failure in early investigations, further inquiries are ongoing. When discussing drug containers, ministers forget that it is they who are in the government. They try to highlight their current actions, but drugs are more prevalent in society than ever. We are also witnessing extensive cultural damage. Amendments are being introduced to the penal code affecting teachers. Parents and teachers have traditionally disciplined children within the bounds of civility. Now these amendments, driven by certain NGOs, could criminalize them. Teachers on social media are calling for resignations because they could now face legal action and imprisonment. I regret the president's speech at the UN. Look at how our country's dignity has been addressed. We have become naive, bending under external pressures. No government in our country's history has become so compliant to external influence as this one.
Authorities have discovered documents pertaining to the customs clearance of the 2 containers of chemical precursors used in the production of crystal methamphetamine recently seized in Middenniya. Meanwhile, 3 suspects arrested in relation to the seizure of 705 kilograms of narcotics in Tangol were ordered to be detained until September 29th for questioning.
3 suspects arrested in connection with the seizure of 705 kilograms of methamphetamine and heroin in Tangol were produced before the Tangol magistrate yesterday. The owner of the lorry that contained the narcotics, which was parked at the Sinimodara house, the owner of the lorry in Godallawala, and a relative of the individual who died while receiving treatment in hospital were among the suspects. After considering a request from Tangol police, the magistrate ordered the suspects to be detained until the 29th of September for questioning. Meanwhile, Tangol police and the police special task force today inspected the Palatugahavatta area in Tangol, from where the drugs are suspected to have been smuggled into the country by sea. In the meantime, documents pertaining to the customs clearance of the 2 containers seized in Middenniya, which contained precursors used in the production of crystal methamphetamine, were discovered in the possession of a suspect arrested for allegedly sheltering Sampath Manamperi, who was also arrested in connection with the containers in question. Police also seized bank cards and a mobile phone belonging to Sampath Manamperi in the possession of the suspect. According to the police, the documents in question were sent to Sampath Manamperi by Kehal Baddara Padme, who then passed them on to the suspect before his apprehension. In another related development, Colombo Chief Magistrate today ordered to remand the wife underworld figure Bako Saman, who was arrested on charges under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act until October 9th. Meanwhile, an associate of Bako Saman, a resident of Middenniya, was arrested by the Police Narcotics Bureau. The suspect was found to be in the possession of 6 kilograms of Kerala cannabis. Police have released a list of contact numbers for the public to provide information on narcotics-related incidents. Accordingly, the public can now directly contact the mobile phone numbers of the Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the region and inform them of such incidents. More information on the contact numbers can be accessed via www.otherderana.lk.
7 monks tragically lost their lives while 6 others were severely injured when a cable car carrying 13 monks collapsed and crashed down a hill. The devastating incident occurred at the Na Uyana Monastery in Kurunegala. According to the police, a support cable attached to the cable car suddenly gave way, prompting the unfortunate incident. Reports reveal that among the deceased monks were some who travelled to Sri Lanka from Russia, Romania and India. 4 Sri Lankan monks were also among the fatalities. The Maho magistrate inspected the scene of the accident today and ordered the authorities to consult the opinions of engineers as part of the probe into the incident. Preliminary investigations reveal overloading of the cable car to be the possible cause of the fatal incident. The final rites and the cremation of the deceased monks is slated to take place tonight. All relevant preparations are expected to be taken by a special committee chaired by the chief incumbent of the Nayuna monastery. Welcome back. The Colombo bourse closed in positive territory today as a result of price gains in counters such as Sampath Bank, Ceylon Tobacco Company and Central Finance Company. The benchmark ASBI gained 0.86% to close at 21,525.06, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 climbed 0.35% to end at 6,102.58. Market turnover was 9.2 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers, with foreign sales worth 392 million rupees. That's all for tonight from First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.